Daniella G. Schlisser is a New York City-based luxury real estate agent and broker and one of the top producing agents at Brown Harris Stevens. She has been operating at one of the highest levels of Manhattan real estate for over 2 decades and has closed more than 1 billion in lifetime sales, consistently ranking among the firm's top agents citywide and nationally. Daniella G. Schlisser, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you on. Just kind of, what do you think pulled you into real estate?
Well, what pulled me into real estate was really necessity. I had three kids to support and a significant financial setback with my ex-husband. I suddenly had no money and three kids to support. And I had to look for a line of work that could be both lucrative and flexible because I was going to be alone with three kids. So I had to be able to, come to parent-teacher conferences and do all that stuff, but still make enough money to support them. And real estate brokerage was really all I could come up with that offered both. And so I went for it. I didn't really plan, I didn't expect or need to like it, but I love it. And I loved it right away.
I
Sorry, I'm
guess
moving weirdly because I'm throwing a ball at a dog to keep her happy.
no worries. So basically out of a necessity.
Yes,
But
very much so.
was it kind of a norm in your circle that real estate people make money and it's not like I think there's a statistic 3% of real estate agents actually become professionals and after the first couple, I think year, 3% of real estate agents are
Is
left.
it
So
down to 3% now? When I started 25 years ago, it was 15, which
wow.
already felt small.
Yeah, I
But
think there's
I'm
a
not surprised if it's down to three. I'm not
Yeah, I think
surprised.
there's a lot more of them now as well. But was it not a thought of yours that this could be the end, right? I'm gonna shoot this shot and obviously gonna put everything into it, but what's gonna happen if I mess up?
No, I, I,
There
I,
wasn't
I
there was an
honestly
option.
did not think what's going to happen if I mess up. And then many, many years later, and this is sort of a sidebar for anybody watching, but many years later, I read something about, where somebody said something about one of the predictors of success, and one of them was do not have a plan B. There's no plan B. Plan A has to work. And and it resonated for me because it just didn't, I wasn't thinking like, what if this doesn't work? And meanwhile, it's commission based, which is scary, especially when you're supporting three kids. But it was all I could come up with, speaking with people that could make enough money to put three kids through Heschel, and life and Manhattan uh, and still be able to be there for them. So it had to work.
And this
And I do realize I'm very lucky that it did.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this gave you a sort of edge against competition with other real estate agents because you have more to lose, but you're also willing to go to like the ends of the earth to make this happen because that's your only option.
Definitely. Yes, yes. I worked harder. I mean, I worked harder than many others, definitely. I didn't I think in that same vein where I didn't really think, what if this doesn't work? I also didn't um think I need every single, like I need this next deal to happen because otherwise I won't eat. I just always thought this will work. Um so I did work with with integrity. I never suggested to anybody to buy something or sell something that I didn't think they should.
You weren't
And I
desperate.
still, pardon? No,
You
I
weren't
wasn't,
desperate to
oddly
get them.
enough.
Yeah,
You would think, I mean, actually, I probably was desperate, but I didn't feel desperate.
makes sense. I mean, doesn't I mean, what do you
A
think? What do you think was that? Like, why were you able to stay
big
so calm?
childhood,
Childhood?
honestly. That's a really, yeah, which is a whole other
Yeah,
tangential conversation. But yeah, I think I was raised by my father. I was not raised by my mother. She lived in Vienna. Um, And he raised me with enough confidence. And he himself, he was an Auschwitz and other camp and death march survivor, who had come to this country with, nothing, no money, no language, no nothing. And he became quite successful. So I think I had the model of, being able to make a lot out of nothing.
And
Uh,
and that this
so,
is not a like the
and yeah,
worst situation that I could be in.
100%. No matter how, scary that was, it was nothing compared to what I knew my father had been through. So I thought, well, if he could make it, I can certainly make it.
So walk me through what was your first deal ever done in real estate?
My first deal was a one bedroom that was being sold by Rich Eisen. I don't know, is he still a sports thing?
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so
yeah,
that was my sons were excited about that at the time. He was a big I know he was sports. I think he was a sportscaster. And I brought the buyer for his apartment. I mean, it was small. When I started, I took over, I mean, I worked really hard and I took over the small business for a broker in my firm. She would just send me all of her small things that she didn't want to work on, and I gave her a 25% referral. And this was the first deal that I did on that. And then I was able to, crawl out of that. But the first 6 months, I started in July, the first 6 months that I worked. So I just started July 2001. So for 2001, I made $19,000. And then in 2002, I remember still $260,000.
wow,
And then it went from there.
makes a lot of sense. And 2001 is a crazy year to start as well.
It was, I know. It was, yes,
You
it
have
was
great
crazy.
stories.
Yes.
What was 2008 like?
2008 was awful. All I did was I didn't sell anything. I did rentals. There was nothing else to do.
No one had enough capital to, or I guess the
Nobody
banks
was,
didn't
nobody had enough kishke, nobody had
confidence.
yeah, to buy. Everybody was scared. The people who did buy in 2008 killed it because they were buying at, half off
I mean
traditional
that
market value. But very few people had the wherewithal to do that. Most people were nervous.
that makes a lot of sense. So now you're a very successful agent. You're working with the top people in New York City. What does an average week look like for you?
Wow. Um, I'm gonna say I work, I mean, a little bit less now because I have two people who work for me now, so it makes it a lot, or with me. So I don't have to, I mean, I used to work a solid 80 hours. I'm gonna say now I probably work like let's say 8 to 6 every day. And then Sundays. So what is that? Probably 60 hours a week, something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. Yeah. I am now trying. I'm now trying to carve out some morning time for myself before I get started because I have kind of totally lost perspective on that.
yeah,
And I think you have to be intentional in
makes
that kind of stuff.
sense.
Yeah. And it's a great job because it does let you do that. There's no one telling me to be at a desk at 9. So if I think I'm going to try to carve out 7:30 to 9 to work out and shower calmly and get to my office by 10, then I can do that. So, for many reasons, it's a great line of work.
It has the benefits of like working in a business, but then as well having more of a structure than like starting your own company. You don't have to think of a product, you're just selling people's houses.
You're right. Agreed.
So what
And
was the
if you're not working under your own shield, which I've never been tempted to do, I have the license for it. You just need a broker's license as opposed to a salesperson's license. Like you start with a salesperson's license, and then you're able, after a certain number of deals and years, you're able to pursue a broker's license. So I could be my own broker, but then you have to worry about your own overhead and your website and marketing materials. And so I've always been very happy to have an entity that handles all that, and I don't have to think about it. I just come in and do the work and go home.
Yeah, that's nice.
Eventually I go home.
Yeah. What was the first compared to selling the first 100 million in real estate compared to the next 900 million, or more, of
I
course?
think they all, I mean,
Would you say it was pretty similar?
yeah, the first, no, I mean, the first successes were probably in a way more exciting because I hadn't had them before and I started to understand that this really can, in fact, this is going to be a career and this is going to sustain us. And that was really exciting. But it's still super exciting because it's competitive out there. So, every time, every pitch I get, every buyer that chooses me is still really exciting because there are a lot of people to choose from.
It's always changing. Never
Yeah,
not the
and
same
and
things.
and what's fun is that every deal is different. Every property you sell is different until you start selling the same one multiple times. But overall, they're all different. So the challenges of how to market them, your obstacles in marketing them are all different. So it's interesting. It's not, I've done new development work, quite a bit of it. That's less interesting because if you're selling out a building and every apartment has the same finish, then you're just saying,
Exact same things over and
Carrera
over.
marble all day and that's it. So resale, which is what I do more of, much more of, is much more interesting for the variety of it. And on the personality level as well. It's different sellers, different buyers, everybody's got their own story. It's fun.
What was the biggest failure you've ever had in real estate?
Oh my God, I know that I mean, there are ones, and there have been ones, and you would think that I bet you my team would know right away. They'd be like, oh yeah, don't you remember? What am
Maybe
I
at the
go?
start, like you fumbled a client or something similar to that.
I'm trying to think. I, God, had I known, I would have prepared this and they would have told me right away. And I'm not remembering it now. I have a little bit of that like Anne Frank syndrome where I still believe in the goodness of man and the cup is always half full. So
Yeah.
I tend to forget the bad stuff. But there have been, I mean, I've certainly, I'm going to say one thing was a bit of hubris. The one that comes to mind, I didn't get a listing that I pitched because arrogantly did not bring in the big guns to help, like the ownership of my company to help me. And the other broker who was pitching it brought the owner of her agency to come help, and the people were very impressed. And I did think to myself, as good as you think you are. And I think that maybe that's a lesson, as good as you, or even as good as you are. When you're doing big stuff, pull out all the stops, bring in all the big guns. Nobody is that good that it isn't helpful to do absolutely everything and make use of absolutely every tool that you have to secure something.
Yeah, I was reading a book. I think there was a quote that said, "Don't let your enemy live on the embers of the fire. Like
Yeah,
put the fire completely out. Go
exactly.
all the way."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Would you
yeah.
would you say that there was a learning curve to real estate, something that you
Oh,
learned
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
after the
oh
first
my
couple of
God,
years?
yeah. It was, yeah. I think mine was relatively quick only because I was working so hard. I mean, I used to take my kids to the bus stop to go to school and go straight to the office from there. So I was at my office by 8 and I was there. My ex was great about helping out so that I can work as much as possible. Um, and so I would often go home at 11. So my learning curve, only because it was like literally at least, easily 80 hours a week that I was working, it made the curve a little shorter in time. But yeah, definitely, definitely. Something happens once, You say something that you can tell isn't landing right, um, and you learn what you have to adjust.
Yeah, there's a common misconception that it takes 10,000 hours to become like the best at something, probably more honestly, but in reality, it's 10,000 tries and failures.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Not hours, it's tries. I completely agree. I completely agree with that.
In a job like real estate, which is mainly where it's all sales, how
Yeah.
do you deal with the failures? Just keep going.
Yes, you have to keep
Yeah.
yes, and definitely don't let one failure mess up good stuff that you're doing. You've got to not take it with you. I'm also a big believer in owning my part in a failure. I actually feel like it helps me get through it. I'll tell a client that was on me, that was my mistake. I didn't see that right, or I didn't, I didn't assess that right. And I try to make good on it. If I've thought I've done something wrong, then I've said, I'm going to cover this because I should have handled that differently.
I mean, that shows a lot of humility, and it might be a reason that your clients
I
might
hope
want to think
so.
again.
I hope so. I'm a believer in humility.
Yeah. What is something that you misunderstood at the beginning of working in real estate?
I misunderstood that I thought I should be very obviously smart. And it was really smarter than I was because I was new. So I didn't understand at first that I shouldn't give all that much direction when I'm showing a property on, and you can open this and you can do that and people live differently. They may or may not want to open a kitchen. Once you've said you can open the kitchen, you've basically told them that the kitchen stinks, closed the way it is because otherwise, so I've learned to let people to try and read people before I try to appear so incredibly, effective and knowledgeable. And you don't have to, it does, it does come across more naturally than I realized it did at the beginning because I didn't really possess it back then. So I think I thought I had to, demonstrate everything I had so painstakingly learned.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, that's a lot of canine noise. They're
So
pulling down.
kind of just
Sorry.
you wanted to be the smartest person in the room all the time, and that was to your detriment, or
It wasn't that I wanted to be the smartest person in the room. I wanted the client to know I knew my stuff.
got it. And did
Now
that
I
come,
know that the client knows I know my stuff. I don't have to be so, I can roll with it more organically. And I'm never worried that they're going to think I don't know my stuff.
did
They
that
came
come
that came with time.
did that come from insecurity, like originally that I
No,
don't know
I
what I'm
think it
doing here, like
came with
imposter syndrome?
I don't think it came from insecurity. I think it came from my understanding, as far as I remember, that we're talking about important stuff. Even when I was doing lower end property for whomever I was doing it, it was their biggest asset. It is typically, unless you're working in very big numbers, and at those numbers, people have multiple properties typically and what have you. But otherwise, it's usually people's biggest asset and it's their home, whether they're buying it or selling it. It's really important. And I think I felt so dutiful that I wanted to make sure that I was being effective and helpful because it was a really big deal. Um, so it was more that it wasn't really insecurity, as far as I can remember, but I definitely felt the weight of, the gravity of what we were doing. And I thought I had to demonstrate a lot of knowledge and guidance and all that.
Got it. Got it. Makes a lot of sense. There's a common thought that the more wealthy buyers or sellers that you work with kind of think that they know everything about real estate. Is that something that you've noticed?
They think they know everything about everything.
Yeah.
So real estate is just one. Some yes, some no. So I will say I'm the biggest Biggest players I've worked with are very, very happy to hand off to me. They
Yeah.
do not think they know. They ask me all the time, what do you think about that? What do you recommend here? And like really big fish. Um, the like not quite so big just yet, those are the tough ones. I think because they still don't,
They're not confident
they're
enough that
trying to,
they,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
People on
those
the
are the tougher ones.
got it. Makes a lot of sense. How has it changed? How do you go from working with people who are renting houses and don't have enough, money to buy a 40 or $20 million apartment to working with the upper class and the ultra high net worth individuals?
It just kind of morphed. It morphs. There's not much you can do. I mean, some people do certain things to increase their business in that way, try to sit on certain boards, join certain committees and stuff like that. But even when you don't do that, I've never been able to be, sorry, the dog, very mercenary that way even and I need my downtime. It's a lot of intense work, and so I don't really like to do things I'm not really authentically interested in doing after work
Yeah.
because I want to be done. But a lot of people do that. They'll go to the galas and this and that just for the business. I never did that, and it still came to me because it becomes word of mouth, and most of my business, I think most of all of those of us who've been doing it for a long time, most of our business is referral. I think my percentages, I try to assess it every year at the end of the year. I think it's 80-20, 80% referral, 20% like, cold call off a listing or off a mailer or something like that. But that morphs, it's even if you're doing, let's say it's a $2 million property, that person, which in Manhattan isn't huge, as crazy as that is, but that person is telling his or her boss. And the boss is a bigger fish. The boss says, "Hey, I know you just bought something. Who'd you buy from? Did you like them? What can you tell me?" And then so
And then
it's
they tell their venture capitalist investor or something else.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
makes sense. So it's not something that you tried to do.
I did not. Many people do. Many,
And
many people do. I have watched many people in my business very strategically and very obviously, you know, join certain boards, have certain, do certain social things, go to certain places on vacation, have people over for dinner. Um, I've seen a lot of that. I am not good at that at all. And
and
when
it
I
seems
spoke
inauthentic as well.
yes, it is.
If you're
Yes.
not really like interested in getting to meet the person and it's just
Agreed.
about, oh, can I meet the top next person?
Agreed.
It's inauthentic and they can sense that as well.
They can, well, I don't know if they can.
Yeah.
I've watched it.
Some people are very blinded by their
And
egos and
also, I think some people are so motivated by the money and the winning that it is in a way authentic for them.
yeah.
Like they might not necessarily have chosen this person to have dinner with, but sitting there for dinner is very authentic for them because what they're pursuing is so appealing to them. I've always felt, I was lucky that I quickly made enough money to support us all. So I didn't think I had to grow so exponentially that I had to start doing stuff I didn't want to do. So I have stayed doing only the things that I want to do. And might I have, more business if I did that stuff too? I'm certain I would. But I definitely have enough and I'm not going to take it with me when I die. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
How would you say social media has impacted real estate?
That's an interesting question because every seller wants you to be on social media. I am on social media, but that's because my associate Justin, who works with me, does all my social media. I would never know or have the interest to do it myself, but he does it and he's 35, so he's great. Um, and But I will tell you, I have gotten, I think, two clients. I've done two deals off social media in all the time, very directly linked. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not also getting a lot of business
From the
that
authority that
isn't
gives
so
you.
directly, yeah, that, where you don't have the, immediate obvious causality. Um, I'm certain I do. And I'm certain I would have less business if I wasn't on social media because everybody wants you to be. So I do it. I think more than the actual post selling your property, it's just the exposure that your client wants you to have.
So the value proposition for someone like Sirhan, right? That brokerage, where their whole thing is social media. We're doing a TV show over and over again.
Yes.
Why are they able to sell? I think Ryan Serhant sold like 6 billion last year. Why do you
Well,
think they're
he does
able
a
to?
lot of new development. He
Yeah,
does a
that is true.
tremendous amount. So the numbers, if you're doing a lot of new development, you're not taking home, you're taking home a fraction of what you would in resale. It's your volume. Your volume has a, very high ticket number. I've always been, and I actually like him. I like him. Yeah, anytime I've done anything with him, I've liked him. I think he works really hard. And I think he works smart. The people who work under him, not so much. And I don't think anybody's really watching that farm. Um, but he is hardworking and effectively working, and I like him. Um, but I mean, differently than I do think he enjoys the splash of the volume. I just care how much money I'm taking home. So
It doesn't make a difference if the
if
website says six or
if I
100.
don't care if I'm selling, I've sold over 1 billion in real estate now. If that would be double, but I would take home all in new development, but my income would be the same. I don't care. That doesn't, I don't, that, that I have no ego play in that. I just care about the net. I do need a certain, net income at the end of a year. But that's all I care about. I don't care if it looks splashy or not.
Do sellers look to the number and say,
Oh,
"Oh, this agent
yes.
sold 2 billion, this agent sold 1 billion, or this
Yes.
agent sold 100 million, this agent sold 200?"
Certain ones, yes. I mean, he gets
I'm guessing
projects
he's getting probably top
100%.
project. Yeah,
He's 100% getting projects. Um, I think when, sometimes, and sometimes he performs, sometimes he doesn't.
makes a lot of
But
sense.
yes, he is getting new development. He's getting a good amount of new development work. Not resale as much, but he is getting a good amount of new development work through all of his
That's
stuff.
interesting. I
Yeah.
wonder how many calls a day they get to try to get him to sell their house.
I don't know about individual. I am very, I'm going to say I've never been up against him that I know of in resale. But I have been on new development.
Got it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Mm. That I've received, I don't know, but I've given a lot. I teach a lot. Um, that I've received, I don't know. I can't remember. I know I've gotten great advice. It was just very long ago. Well, actually, I mean, one of the things that I did get the advice to only do what I enjoy in terms of business growth. Like when we talk about where to go to, you do, of course, always want to expand your sphere of influence. You want to expand your client base. But I did get that advice, and I've lived it, as we just said, that I don't have dinner with people I'm not interested in. I don't go to events I'm not interested in. And the advice was given to me with the analysis of, are you going to be happy to have been there, even if you get no business out of it at all? And if the answer to that is going to be no, then don't go. And if the answer is yes, then go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
I
sense.
mean, we're very much we're in a business that assuming you know what you're doing, let's say we start with that, as of a certain point, you know what you're doing, um, and you're good at your job. So the next piece that you have to be very focused on is growth. So you've got to be thinking about that can't be good. Sorry, I'm coming. I'm hearing wine bottles. Georgina, what are you doing? Oh, Lord. Okay, sorry.
No worries.
There's not even anything there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no worries.
So that was very good advice, because it also was a lifestyle piece of advice. Don't let this job make you mercenary to that degree. It's going to eat you up. You're going to burn out. Definitely you have to keep growing. So you have to be expanding your client base, but don't never do stuff after work that you're not going to want to have done.
Makes a lot of sense, and
Yeah.
a lot of people definitely don't follow that.
No,
Yeah,
agreed.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the worst piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oh my God. Go direct. Prioritize the direct buyer is the worst advice I've ever received. And nobody of any caliber does that. People like
You
when
want to prioritize the seller, right?
no,
Or
to
you want to prioritize to
when
get
you're
seller answers?
representing a property, to prioritize a direct buyer as opposed to one with a broker. And there are many brokers who do that, in fact. And it is, first, aside from being thoroughly unethical, it's also so stupid because people who come to you directly who don't have their own broker, they know you work for the seller. It's not that they don't trust you at all, but they trust you with reservation. They know, if they say, what do you think the bottom line is here? You're not going to tell them. I tell them when I have a direct buyer, I tell them, I can't tell you that because I do have to also, I have to represent the interest of my seller. So please know that. And I always say, please know that. Please know that I'm not going to be telling you that you can get this cheaper. If I were representing you as opposed to the seller, I would tell you, I'm pretty confident you can get this cheaper, but I'm not going to do that here.
Got it.
So it rightly, they don't fully trust you. They don't know what they're doing when throughout the process. Every deal is better with a seasoned broker on both sides.
That makes a lot of sense. And you don't want to. I heard from another agent that you don't want to represent both sides because
That's
it
what I'm
comes into
talking
it.
about now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's not
Exactly.
that, look, if you have no choice, if they come to you directly and they don't have a broker and they don't want a broker, you do it. I do plenty of it. But I much prefer, I never hold out for it. And I much prefer having a seasoned broker on the other side.
100%. What is one thing that you wish you could tell your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year-old self, boy, she was a long time ago. Um, Probably you can do anything, clearly. But I
Is
think
that,
she knew that. She knew that.
I was going
I
to say,
don't
is
think
that
my
something?
18-year-old self was so much different actually than my 60-year-old self.
Oh, well,
I've done a lot since 18, but I think I had the same moral compass and I had the same confidence that I could do anything-ish. I mean, I can't dunk, but I can, other than that, I think I had that then.
that's
I think
good.
that
That's
might
probably also
be,
why you
yeah,
became successful.
I think so, probably. It's certainly why I thought this was a good idea
Yeah,
because there's no, with three kids and no money, there was really no other way to think that a commission-based line of work would be a good idea. But it was.
yeah. You have to be delusional. But the
Yes.
delusional people are making.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Who is the most impressive client that you've worked with that you can tell us
I
about?
can't. I never talk about no.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned from working with a client?
Um, Biggest lesson that I've learned. I guess maybe that, there's no substitute for confidence, or people don't have to prove themselves when they're confident. Like, I mean, my most annoying clients have always been the, you know, wanting to prove that, wanting to feel like big fish and they're not yet. Those are always the worst. The normal people who have questions, and behave like normal people, and they're like, what do we do now? I don't understand this, or what, or the very big, confident people who pretty much know stuff, but they have hired you and they trust you and they say, well, what do you think? Those are all great. And one side is the lowest end of the spectrum and the other side is the highest. And there are people who fall in that great sphere all the way in between. But on the full range of that spectrum, the people who have a need to feel bigger than they are, or and those ones are annoying. So, you don't there's nothing like a solid sense of internal self. And I think the same goes for those of us doing the job. I think the ones like if you go and if you when you show a property and a broker doesn't stop talking and is like, and then this and then that, and and if you lean your head out the window, you can see the park, and it looks like it's dark today, but it's really not dark, and you're standing in what is facing a brick wall and is clearly dark all the time. It's ridiculous. When you see that same property with a broker who says, it's not really a view and light apartment, but it has great space and it's a great price and your monthlies are low and it's a great start, who shoots straight because they don't have all that weird needing to they're more effective.
Makes
So
a
I
lot of sense.
think yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. It's
You
been an
are very
honor.
welcome, Nadav. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of
Thank
course.
you. Say hi to the walls at Heschel.
Yeah.